Mega Pokemon are finally back in the Pokemon TCG, and today we're going to be taking a look at the first of the Mega Pokemon, Mega Lucario. This is the one I think that has the most potential of all of the Mega Pokemon because of all the fighting support that are surrounding it. We're going to be looking at a deck list, a little bit of gameplay. This is not to be taken too seriously, just a little bit of a roadmap of how maybe you want to approach the game and how you want to look at it. So we'll have this deck list in here. We'll have some gameplay in here. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. I always like to do some early content review. Set is not out yet for a couple of days in Japan, and it'll be out shortly after for us in America. So let's take a look at what Mega Lucario EX is meant to do. It is a Stage 1 340 HP fighting type Pokemon that evolves from Riolu. Notably, you don't need any Spirit Link or anything like that from back in the day. It's just a pretty regular, just put it on top of your Riolu, you've got a Mega Lucario. It's got the first attack, Fighting Energy, Aura Jab. Attach up to 3 basic Fighting Energy cards from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. 130 damage. That's pretty sizable damage-wise, and you get to accelerate your attackers up pretty quickly. Now, the second attack, Mega Brave, for 2 fighting, does 270, and you can't use Mega Brave the next turn. This Pokemon, sorry. So another Mega Lucario, or once you've switched to the bench, it can reuse your Mega Brave attack. Weak to Psychic, which is not necessarily the best weakness to have right now, and giving up 3 prizes is obviously pretty bad, but you have 2 retreat cost and puts it all together. Now, in this deck list, we're going to see some other cards from the new set, like Hariyama, with the Sumo Catcher ability on a Stage 1. Basically, when you play this card from your hand to evolve your Pokemon this turn, you may switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active. So it's a conditional gust. So in terms of, say, you can do 2 things at once, basically, like effectively you have a boss's orders on this Hariyama, and you can Iono your opponent, or you can research and draw into 7 new cards, or Arven and find those pieces you need to find. So a very useful tool for a deck that's very streamlined like Mega Lucario. We have cards like Lunatone as well. Once you have Solrock in play, you may discard a basic fighting from your hand to draw 3 cards if you have Solrock. So basically combo that out to get those fightings into the discard, then use Aura Jab and power up your other attackers. Without further ado, hope you guys enjoy this content. Let's take a jump into the video. The Japanese YouTube channel is putting out lists all the time. Let's take a look at this right now. We see that there's a 4-3 Lucario line, pretty simple, 2-2 in terms of the Hariyama. Basically just using Lucario as the only attacker, which I quite like actually. I think there's no reason to use anything else here. We have the Fighting Gong, which gets a basic fighting Pokemon and fighting energy, so you can set up a board pretty quickly or find those energies. We have the Fighting Electro Power, which is plus 30 damage, really good. Rock Chestplate, also good to just keep ourselves a little bit alive. Max Belt to bolster our damage up from 270 to 320 to 350 with the Electro Power if we need to, because there's a lot of really big, beefy Pokemon now in the format with these Mega Pokemon coming in. We have the Arvins, the Lily supporter, which shuffles in and draws up to 8 if we have all of our prize cards, and only 6 if we have taken a prize card. Everything else seems pretty standard. I like how this is built. I don't know if Artisan is necessarily the best supporter to be or stadium to be playing, but I think otherwise everything else makes sense to me. 2 boss, especially because we have conditional gust already as well. So we can shuffle draw 8 and we can Hariyama as well. The Hariyama having 3 retreat costs could be an issue. That's one thing I could see with this list. But there's 2 copies of Air Balloon, so we can move it around. I don't know. I don't prefer the Hariyama having 3 retreat, but it's probably not gonna be an issue, right? So that's the initial list, and so we'll jump into the gameplay. Now these guys are not experts; they're just the Japanese YouTube channel. They like to put out content. They like to do it for us. So remember to be nice in the comments below. Lucario on the right, and we have Teal Mask Ogerpon on the left. Lucario player going first, getting down a Makuhita. Artisan as well in the hand, double Rylu's hitting the board, establishing an energy on the bench one and passing. Notably, importantly, Rylu has 80 HP, and so does the Makuhita. So Buddy Buddy Poffin was notably absent in the list. We're going to go ahead and see Fan Rotom hitting the board here. So I think it's probably Raging Bolt. There's the Owls coming into the hand. Let's see if there is a Raging Bolt here to... Yep, there's a Baby Raging Bolt. The Baby Raging Bolt, it'll have a little bit of utility here, but this Fan Rotom comes in and swings for 70. But the irony here is that this 80 HP Pokemon will survive the hit. Not Buddy Buddy Poffin searchable, but we are able to get this guy up and running. We see the Lily supporter shuffling and drawing in 8 brand new cards here, which is quite important. We don't have to discard those important resources, and we get a little bit more than a research would. There's a Solrock and the Lunatone. We're going to go ahead and use the Artisan to pull out another Riolu, just set up our board. One Riolu is already pretty damaged, so we don't really want to use that if we can. We're going to use Lunatone's ability to draw 3 cards now that the Solrock and Lunatone are established. We're going to attach to the Solrock. It looks like we're going to attack with the Solrock in here. I think there's no weakness and resistance affection if you have a Solrock or Lunatone in play. And we're going to actually knock out this fan rotom. Not an attack I thought we'd be using. I thought it would purely be for the Lunatone ability. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But a Koraidon hitting the board is also another one prize attacker. And we're going to go ahead and use Professor Sada and then follow up with the Noctowl to get a Vessel and a Stadium. And we're going to go ahead and attach another energy to the Teal Mask, Ogerpon, attach to the active here, and we're going to go ahead and do 60 damage. So most notably, the Raging Bolt player is kind of stumbling a little bit on their attacks, opting to not go for a big Raging Bolt, recognizing that it might be a bad scenario for them. Mega Lucario hitting the board here, and an Iono is very simple as that. Pretty good card against the Raging Bolt deck. We're going to go ahead and use the attack here. Attached to Makuhita to maybe attack with Hariyama down the line, or we can have to retreat it at some point. So I think that's a fine attachment. Oh, we're going to attack with Hariyama. We're going to attack with Hariyama's attack at some point in this matchup. It looks like, I mean, I don't hate it. Like, the Lucario doesn't need too many energies to actually work. So you can put those energies wherever you'd like. Fez hitting the board. Fez notably weak to fighting. Not the greatest time for Fez and Dippity to be in this game. Another Noctowl hitting the board, taking care of the second Hoot Hoot. So there's no more Hoot Hoots available to us. Another Nest Ball. Latias for the free retreat. Professor Sada, Vitality coming in. We're going to see 3 new cards. There is the 5th energy from the Raging Bolt. That's all 5. This is why Raging Bolt is so scary. It can just take knockouts on anything in the format pretty easily, even those 350 HP Pokemon, 340 HP Pokemon. There goes the Mega Lucario. 3 prize cards just like that. The Raging Bolt player is taking half of their prize cards with 1 knockout. Now, how does the Mega Lucario player respond? This Hariyama has to basically come in, the Mega Gong, Fighting Gong, sorry, getting the Fighting Pokemon here, or Fighting Energy here, and Ultra Ball grabbing ourselves the Hariyama. With the Conditional Gust, drawing 3 off the Lunatone as well, cycling as well. We're going to keep attaching to this Railu, but not evolving it smartly. We're going to go ahead and gust up this Pheasantipity and use Hariyama's attack to do 420. Now, 210 is like a pretty reasonable amount. Like, let's just pause here and say, like, yeah, the weakness matters here, but the 210 is actually a very reasonable amount for an attack. I never considered this when thinking about it, when like that would be powered up by Lucario specifically, but this can basically just take out like a Mew, a Fez, a Squawk, any of those support Pokemon, Latias, like those can all get removed off the board by this Hariyama pretty easily. And that's actually, I think, quite notably important. Like, the Latias, I think, has resistance, yes, but you can use the Fighting Electro Power to get that plus 30 as well, and use a 1 prize attacker and offset the board, right? Like, now there's no 2 prize attackers in play. The Raging Bolt player has no Gust, notably, but if they can Gust this turn, not Gust, but like, yeah, we're gonna, not Gust, I mean Disruption. We're gonna bring up the Makuhita, an interesting decision here, and we're going to, I think we missed the attack. No, we got the attack. Why are we not just killing Railu? I guess if this becomes Hariyama, the game ends on either of these Teal Masks, is the idea. And this way you have to put them on Finding Gust. Just Finding Gust. It's Finding Gust as game versus Finding... Yeah, Finding Gust is game still. So up comes the Railu. There's the Fighting Gong, once again getting another Fighting here. Looking for the boss's orders. A basic Fighting Energy is a cycle 3 here if we can get that. But there it looks like no more Artisan hitting the board. We can thin out another card with Artisan if we'd like to. Board is thinned out. Another Soul Rock hitting the board. Always thinning is winning here. We need to see there's 3 off the ability once again. Do we see the boss's orders? There's a Stretcher. There's the Mega Lucario hitting the hand. There is the boss's orders to seal up the game. I think actually a very heads up play from the Raging Bolt player to take out the Makuhita, because this deck having this like 2/2 line of Makuhita commits to this Gust a little bit more. So you have the boss's orders are probably in less quantity, especially when looking at a deck construction. And then you have the Fighting E-Powers. We're just going to buff up our damage, do 300 damage here, and take the knockout. Let's take a look at this list one more time before we evacuate the premises here. I'm actually like very enamored by the idea of this list. I don't know if this max belt is necessarily needed, but this was just one matchup where we saw that it wasn't a big beefy Pokemon that we needed to use it against. So maybe like a Prime Catcher could be quite good as an A-Spec, just because if your board doesn't take too much to get set up, having a Prime Catcher could catch your opponent off guard pretty quickly, especially when you have the Railus with the 2 energies apiece. And then you can make a Mega Lucario, take 270. But giving up 3 prizes is just like so crazy to me. Like, this I think has the most potential of the Megas, but across the board I think most of the Megas will be really scary and hard to use, because giving up 3 prizes is a lot. That being said, glad you guys enjoyed this video. We'll catch you guys next time.